welcome to everyone watching the AFC Under-23 Asian Cup 2022 qualifiers draw from Tashkent, Uzbekistan. My name is Zohorjon Akramkhonov and I will be your host for today's highly anticipated qualifiers draw. Uzbekistan is the proud host of the AFC Under-23 Asian Cup 2022, and I must thank you all the football fans of Asia for tuning into today's live broadcast where we turn our attention to Asia's stars of tomorrow. Today, the pathway to the 5th edition of the AFC Under-23 Asian Cup 2022 becomes clearer for the challengers who hoping join Uzbekistan in 2022. Before we begin today's event, let us introduce you the host country of the AFC Under-23 Asian Cup 2022, Uzbekistan, with a short video. We eagerly look forward to next year's competition here, Tashkent in Uzbekistan. Now, before we go to today's main highlights, let us introduce you Mr. Ravshan Irmatov, Senior Vice President of Uzbekistan Football Association, to give a welcome speech.
Thank you very much, Zahir. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to welcome you all to the AFC Asian Cup Under-23 draw ceremony here in Tashkent. On behalf of Uzbekistan Football Association and entire Uzbek football community, we would like to once again thank AFC for giving us this opportunity to host this important competition here in Uzbekistan. As you know, Uzbekistan is a football country. And all Uzbek football fans, we are very happy to know that we are hosting Under-23 AFC Asian Cup, and they are waiting for this football event with huge excitement. I would like to assure you all that our team will work together with AFC, and we all will do our best to host this tournament on the highest level, to make it successful and the most memorable football event. I wish all the teams best of luck during their qualifiers, and we are looking forward to see Asian football family here in Uzbekistan in June 2022. Thank you very much. Thank you, Zahir, once again.
Thank you, Mr. Irmatov. The AFC Under-23 Asian Cup is a platform for rising stars to shine, and over the years, many new talents have emerged on this stage. Today, 42 member associations have their names in the pots, and the draw will be divided into two zones. The West Zone, comprising participating teams from the West, South, and Central zones. And the East Zone, which includes participating teams from ASEAN and East zones. To help you understand more about today's draw, let us go through the draw mechanics video of the West Zone to explain how it works.
AFC Under-23 Asian Cup Uzbekistan 2022 Qualifiers Draw Mechanism. Entries. 43 member associations of the Asian Football Confederation have expressed their interest to participate in the AFC U23 Asian Cup Uzbekistan 2022. Competition format. The competition will consist of qualifying and final stages as follows. Seeding for the AFC Under-23 Asian Cup Uzbekistan 2022 Qualifiers Draw. Seeding for the draw shall be based on the rankings of the AFC Under-23 Championship Thailand 2020. As per the decision of the AFC Competitions Committee, all matches involving Uzbekistan, the host of the final competition, shall be considered as friendly matches and not to be taken into account when calculating the group ranking and best positioned teams amongst all groups during the qualifiers. Therefore, Uzbekistan will be considered as unranked team during the draw. Zoning of participating teams and mode of competition. Based on the 42 MAs in the qualifiers, the competition will be divided into two zones of West, comprising West, South and Central, with 23 teams, and East, comprising East and ASEAN, with 19 teams as follows. Based on the total number of 23 teams from the West zone, there shall be 5 groups of 4 teams and 1 group of 3 teams in the West zone. Total 6 groups. Based on the total number of 19 teams from the East zone, there shall be 4 groups of 4 teams and 1 group of 3 teams in the East zone. Total 5 groups. 11 group winners and 4 best second place teams among all groups shall qualify to the final competition. Total 15 teams. Host of the final competition, Uzbekistan, will receive a direct qualification into the finals. Each group shall play a one-round league format in a centralized venue where each team in the group shall play one match against every other team. The MAs that have expressed their interest to host the qualifiers will be drawn into separate groups. Groupings and match dates. The following match sequence applies for the groups with 4 teams. The number designates the position drawn in each group. The following match sequence applies for the groups with 3 teams. The number designates the position drawn in each group. As per AFC 2021 competition calendar, the AFC Under-23 ASEAN Cup Uzbekistan 2022 qualifiers shall be played from 23rd to 31st October 2021. Draw principles and draw mechanics. West Zone. The draw will separate 23 teams into 6 groups as per Table 6. Teams will be allocated into 4 seeding pots according to the team seeding shown on Table 4 and 1 host pot. The host MAs will be taken from their seeding pot and placed in a separate pot allocated for the hosts. in order to draw them into different groups at the beginning of the draw. Each host association will be drawn into different groups, but to the same position as reflected in their original seeding. The host MAs are Jordan, UAE, Bahrain, Qatar, Tajikistan and Kuwait. Draw will commence in the following sequence. Hosts pot, pot 4, pot 3, pot 2, pot 1. Hosts pot. The first team to be drawn will be allocated into Group A. However, its position in Group A will depend on the seeding of the drawn team. For instance, if Jordan or UAE is drawn, they will be positioned as A1. But if Bahrain, Qatar or Tajikistan is drawn, they will be positioned as A2, while Kuwait will be positioned A3 if drawn as first team. The second team drawn will be allocated into Group B. The same position allocation principle of Group A applies. The third to sixth team to be drawn will be allocated into Groups C, D, E and F accordingly. The same principle applies on confirmation of their position in each respective group. Pot 4. The first to fifth ball drawn will be placed in position 4 of all groups in the order from A to E accordingly. Pot 3. The first to fifth ball drawn will be placed in empty positions 3 of all groups in the order from A to F accordingly. Pot 2. The first to third ball drawn will be placed in empty position 2 of all groups in the order from A to F accordingly. Pot 1. The first to fourth ball drawn will be placed in empty position 1 of all groups in the order from A to F accordingly.
Now that we are clear of how the draw mechanics work, please welcome the AFC Deputy Director of Competitions and Football Events Division, Mr. Avazbek Berdikulov, on stage.
Thank you, Zohir. Greetings from sunny Tashkent, the Under-23 Asian Cup in 2022. Exactly 1 year from now, we will be playing opening match of the AFC Under-23 Asian Cup in Tashkent. And today, we are gathered here to identify the path for 42 member associations on their fight to reach the final competition. Out of 42 teams, 15 member associations will qualify for the final competition, and they will play together with Uzbekistan as top 16 teams next summer. As explained during the draw mechanism, we will start the draw from the West region, and in front of me I have 4 pots together with 1 pot allocated for the host associations. So we'll start the draw with the host association pot to open the ceremony today. Without further ado, let me draw the first ball of the day, and this drawn team will host Group A, and they will occupy position in Group A according to their seeding as explained in the draw mechanism. We have Bahrain, Kuwait, Jordan, Qatar, Tajikistan and United Arab Emirates interested to host 6 groups, and we'll allocate them into 6 groups accordingly. First team to be drawn today and host of Group A, we have Qatar. They are the host of the final competition in 2016, and they were third in 2018 competition played in Qatar, host of Group A, position 2. We'll continue the draw, and the second team drawn will host Group B, and they will occupy position in Group B according to their ranking. And we have Tajikistan. They are yet to reach the final competition, and they will host the qualifiers in Dushanbe, and Tajikistan will occupy position 2 in Group B. We'll continue to allocate the hosts, and the next team we have hosting Group C in the West region, is Bahrain. Bahrain will host the qualifiers, and this will be the second time they will try to reach the final competition after their participation in 2020, where they ended in group stage. Bahrain, host of Group C, position 2. Halfway through with the host associations, and I will continue to draw. Next host, which will go to Group D, we have Kuwait. Kuwait played in the final competition in 2013, and they are host of the qualifiers. They will occupy position 3 in Group D. Two more hosts remaining. Either Jordan or United Arab Emirates will host Group E, and we have here United Arab Emirates. They have reached quarterfinals in 2020, but they missed the competition in 2018. They are constant participant, and they always reach quarterfinals in the final competitions, and this time they will start with hosting the group stage qualifiers competition, and position E1 for United Arab Emirates. Last team from this pot should be Jordan, and here is a confirmation. We have Jordan. They finished third in 2013 inaugural competition played in Oman, and they played in all final competitions on all 4 editions previously. Jordan, host of Group F, position 1. So now we have done with the host associations. Let me move to the next pot, which will be pot 4, and we draw the lowest ranked teams into 6 groups accordingly. As explained in the draw mechanism, we also have Uzbekistan in this draw, and today during the draw ceremony we have head coach of Uzbekistan under-23 national team attending, Mr. Raushan Irmatov. I hope they will get the good draw result today. Raushan Haydarov attending the draw today, head coach of Uzbekistan under-23 national team. Uzbekistan will participate in this draw ceremony as friendly competition, and their results will not be taken into consideration. Therefore, they are ranked lowest seeded team in this draw ceremony. First team going to Group A, traveling to Qatar, we have Sri Lanka. They missed the competition in 2016, and they yet to reach the final. Continue to do the draw in alphabetical order, and the next team drawn will be traveling to Tajikistan, and they will occupy position B4, and we have Nepal. This will be 5th attempt by Nepal under-23 national team to qualify for the final competition, and they are yet to reach the final, and they will travel to Tajikistan in Group B. 3 more teams remaining, and the next team drawn will travel to Bahrain. We have Maldives. They missed the event in 2018, but they played in all other qualifiers in all 3 other editions, but they are yet to reach the final competition. Maldives traveling to Bahrain, and they occupy position C4. So we have Kyrgyz Republic and Uzbekistan to be drawn. Uzbekistan, champion of the AFC Under-23 Championship in 2018. They were 4th in 2020. They were very close to qualify for the Olympic finals, and they are host of the final competition. Uzbekistan, they will travel to Kuwait and occupy position D4. As I explained, results of Uzbekistan will not be taken into consideration in final standing, and all matches of Uzbekistan will be considered as friendly matches in the group. So group standing in Group D will be for 3 teams only. The final team from this pot going to Group E4 and traveling to United Arab Emirates, it should be Kyrgyz Republic, and here is the confirmation. They are yet to reach the final competition, and this will be the 5th attempt by Kyrgyz Republic, traveling to United Arab Emirates, Group E, position 4. We are almost halfway through with the West region, and I will continue to do the draw for pot 3, and we will put them in position 3 in all groups except D, because position 3 in D already occupied by hosts Kuwait. Okay, let's see who will go to Qatar and play together with hosts Qatar and Sri Lanka in Group A. We have Yemen. 2 times in the final competition in 2013 and 2016, but then they missed the next 2 editions. Yemen will be trying to reach their 3rd competition after missing out the last 2 finals. Yemen, position 3 in Group A. Traveling to Tajikistan in Group B and playing together with Tajikistan and Nepal, we have Lebanon. They are yet to reach the final competition, and they will try their 5th attempt to qualify for the finals from Group B together with Tajikistan and Nepal. We are now exactly halfway through from the West region draw, and next team I'm drawing will go to Group C, traveling to Bahrain. We have Afghanistan. They played in all qualifiers since 2016. They missed the inaugural edition, but they're yet to reach the final competition. Afghanistan, position 3 in Group C, traveling to Bahrain and joining Bahrain and Maldives. This team will play together with Kuwait and Uzbekistan, and we will see the opponent for Uzbekistan. It is either Turkmenistan or has not yet reached the finals, and they will travel to Kuwait. They will travel to United Arab Emirates. It will be in Group E. So India, Group E, position 3. United Arab Emirates and Kyrgyz Republic. And the final team we have, it will go to Group F as I explained, Turkmenistan. They missed the event in 2016, but they played in all other qualifiers, and they yet to reach the qualify to the final competition. We missed Group D because Kuwait was already there, so now we put India in Group E and Turkmenistan in Group F. So this complete group draw from the pot 3. In pot 2, as you can see, we have empty positions in groups D, E, and F, and these 3 teams will go to groups D, E, and F. And this team will play with Kuwait and Uzbekistan. In Group D, occupying position 2, we have Bangladesh. Yet to qualify for the final competition, but they played in all qualifiers since inaugural edition in 2013. Bangladesh, position D2 in Group D together with Kuwait and Uzbekistan. Now we will complete quartet of Group E, and Oman will occupy position E2, host of the inaugural edition in 2013. They played in the finals in 2013 and 2018. Oman, position E2 in Group E, together with United Arab Emirates, which are the hosts, India and Kyrgyz Republic. And we also will complete now Group F with the final confirmation that Palestine will travel to Jordan. And here is the confirmation. Palestine qualified to the finals once in 2018, where they reached the quarterfinals, and now they will try their qualification attempt to the final competition in Group F together with Jordan and Turkmenistan. Okay, we have 4 balls left in West region draw pots, and they will occupy first positions in Group A, B, C, and D. Syria, Saudi Arabia, Syria, Islamic Republic of Iran, and Iraq, top 4 teams from the West region. Going to Group A, position 1, we have Syria. They reached the quarterfinals in 2020. They played in all final competitions. Syria, position 1 in Group A. Going to Group B, we have the next team, Islamic Republic of Iran. They missed the event in 2018, but they reached the quarterfinals in 2016. Strong under-23 national team, Islamic Republic of Iran, traveling to Tajikistan. Group B, position 1. We have 2 more teams left. One of them will join Group C, and one of them will join Group D. Iraq. Champion of inaugural edition in 2013, played in all 4 final competitions. Iraq traveled to Bahrain in Group C, and they will play against Bahrain, Afghanistan, and Maldives. Iraq, Group C, position 1. And to conclude our draw, I have Saudi Arabia for the group of Bangladesh, Kuwait, and Uzbekistan. Here is a confirmation. Saudi Arabia, runner-up 2 times in 2013 and 2020, and they will occupy position D1, and this will complete our draw, and they will play in Group D together with Bangladesh, Kuwait, and Uzbekistan. And I hope my fellow colleagues from Uzbekistan are happy with the draw outcome, which will give them the strong opponents in preparation for the final competition. This concludes the draw for West region, and in order to conduct the draw for East region, let's have a look at the draw mechanism for the East region, and I will be back after the video to continue with the draw.
Draw principles and draw mechanics. East Zone. The draw will separate 19 teams into 5 groups as per Table 7. Teams will be allocated into 4 seeding pots according to the team seeding shown on Table 5 and 1 host's pot. The host MAs will be taken from their seeding pot and placed in a separate pot allocated for the hosts in order to draw them into different groups at the beginning of the draw. Each host association will be drawn into different groups, but to the same position as reflected in their original seeding. The host MAs are Singapore, Indonesia, Chinese Taipei, and Mongolia. Draw will commence in the following sequence: Host's pot, Pot 4, Pot 3, Pot 2, Pot 1. Host's pot. 4 teams selected as host of qualifiers. The first team to be drawn will be allocated into Group G. However, its position in Group G will depend on the seeding of the drawn team. For instance, if Singapore is drawn, it will be positioned as G2, and if Indonesia is drawn, it will be positioned as G3, while Chinese Taipei and Mongolia will be positioned G4 if drawn as first team. The second team to be drawn will be allocated into Group H. The same position allocation principle of Group G applies. The third and fourth teams to be drawn will be allocated into Groups I and J. The same principle applies on confirmation of their position in the respective groups. Due to the lesser number of hosts, there will be no host team draw into Group K, and AFC will further follow up with the participating MAs drawn to this group for further arrangements on the venue details. Part 4. The first to second ball drawn will be placed in empty position 4 of all groups in the order from G to J accordingly. Part 3. The first to fourth balls drawn will be placed in the empty position 3 of all groups in the order from G to K accordingly. Part 2. The first to fourth balls drawn will be placed in empty position 2 of all groups in the order from G to K accordingly. Part 1. First to fifth ball drawn will be placed in empty position 1 of all groups in the order from G to K accordingly. This shall conclude the draw for the AFC Under-23 Asian Cup Uzbekistan 2022 qualifiers.
As explained during the draw mechanism now, and we will start drawing from host spot, and we'll allocate teams into different groups, and then we continue with pot 4, pot 3, pot 2, and finally pot 1. The same principle basically which was applied for the West region draw a few minutes ago. As explained during the draw mechanism, unfortunately we couldn't secure 5 hosts for the 5 groups, so there will be no hosts drawn into Group K, and once the draw completed, AFC will communicate with the teams drawn into Group K, and we will identify the hosts from among the member associations in Group K. In case there is no host in Group K, AFC will then identify a natural venue which will be communicated to everyone in due time. But our principle remain, we will continue and push forward to play all our qualifiers within the allocated window of 23 to 31st October, and we intend to complete all matches by 31st October this year. We will allocate Chinese Taipei, Indonesia, Mongolia, and Singapore into 4 groups, G, H, I, and J. The first team to be drawn will be host of group G, and their position will be identified as per the seeding. We have Indonesia, host of the qualifiers, and Indonesia go to position 3 in group G, and they are yet to qualify for the final competition, but they played in all qualifiers since 2013. Indonesia, host of group H, and position will, and Singapore of the qualifiers, and hopefully they will make it through this time by hosting the group and with the help of the home advantage. Host of group I, either Chinese Taipei and Mongolia, and here is the confirmation. We have Chinese Taipei. They will be the host of group I, and they will occupy position 4 in group I. They are yet to qualify to the final competition, and this is also their next attempt to make it to the final in Uzbekistan next summer. Final team from this spot, we have Mongolia, also seeded from the 4th spot. They will occupy position 4 in group J. Played in all qualifiers from 2013 when we introduced AFC Under 23 Championship. Mongolia, position 4 in group J. We move on to pot 4, and as you can see, we have only 2 empty positions in position 4, which are in group G and H, and these 2 teams will go to these positions as per their seeding. Going to group G and traveling to Mongolia, we have Brunei Darussalam. They participated in all competitions since 2016, but they are yet to reach the finals. Indonesia, Brunei Darussalam together in group G. And the final team from pot 4, we have Philippines, and here is the confirmation. They will travel to Singapore. This is the 5th attempt to qualify for the final competition. Philippines yet to play in the finals, going to group H, position 4. Halfway through, almost halfway through with the East region draw, and now we draw 4 teams into positions 3 in groups H, I, J, and K. Indonesia was also originally in this spot, but since they are the host, they were moved to host spot, and we don't draw any team to group G for position 3. So this team going to group H, occupying position 3, we have Timor-Leste. They are also one of the teams yet to reach the final competition, and they will travel to Singapore, and they will play against host Singapore and Philippines in group H. Going to group I and traveling to Chinese Taipei, we have Hong Kong, yet to reach the final competition, but Hong Kong is making attempts to qualify for the finals, and Hong Kong will try to reach final competition in Uzbekistan by playing in Chinese Taipei in group I. Going to group J and traveling to Mongolia, we have Laos. Laos is another team yet to make its debut in the finals of the AFC Under 23 Asian Cup, and they will try their attempt in Mongolia this time. Group J, position 3, Laos. And the first team to be drawn into group K, we have Cambodia, and here is the confirmation. They are yet to reach the final competition, and Cambodia will play in group K, which does not have host at the moment. Moving on to pot 2, we have now top teams and strong teams joining our draw procedure. We have Japan, China PR, Malaysia, and Myanmar in pot. Keep position 2 in group H because Singapore was originally here and was taken to the host spot. Okay, first team to be drawn going to group G, position 2, and traveling to Indonesia, we have China PR. Host of the final competition in 2018, and they were original host of this competition. China PR traveled to Indonesia in Group G, position 2. The next team traveling to Group I, and we have Myanmar playing in Chinese Taipei together with Hong Kong. Myanmar, they reached the final competition in 2013 in its inaugural edition, and now they will make their next attempt to qualify for the finals. 2 more teams remaining, Malaysia or Japan, and this team will go to Group J, hosted in Mongolia. We have Malaysia. They have reached the quarterfinals in 2018 final competition. Malaysia will travel to Mongolia and play together with Laos and Mongolia in Group J. And the final team from this spot, we have Japan, and they will travel to Cambodia for the they will play with Cambodia in Group K, and we will yet to identify host for Group K. Champion in 2016, Japan, position 2 in Group K. Final pot of the day today, and we will identify 5 teams into 5 positions straightforward in groups from J to K, and they all will occupy position 1 in each group. Joining China, Indonesia, and Brunei Darussalam in Group G, we have Australia. 3rd place in 2020, they qualified to the Olympic finals in the competition played in Thailand. Australia playing in Group G, position 1. Next team traveling to Singapore in Group H, joining Timor-Leste and Philippines, we have Korea Republic. Defending champion, they were the winner of the AFC Under-23 Championship in Thailand. Korea Republic, Group H, position 1. Joining Myanmar, Hong Kong, and Chinese Taipei in Group I to be played in Chinese Taipei, we have the next team, Vietnam. Runner-up in 2018, which was a famous final called Final in the Snow in China. Vietnam, they will travel to Group I together with Myanmar, Hong Kong, and host Chinese Taipei. We have Thailand and DPR Korea, and they will be drawn into groups J and K, and we have here team going to Group J, Thailand. Host of the 2020 competition, they reached the quarterfinals in 2020. Thailand, position 1 in Group J. In the final team from today, we have DPR Korea, and here is the confirmation. They will go to Group K. They reached the quarterfinal in 2016, and in Group K we have DPR Korea, Japan, and Cambodia, and the AFC will communicate with member stations to identify the host for this group. This will conclude the draw of 42 teams into 11 groups, and 11 winners together with best second teams will qualify for the final competition. Total 15 teams out of this 42 will travel to Uzbekistan next summer, and they will join hosts Uzbekistan in the top 16 team competition. We wish all teams the best in the qualifying competition, and we thank you for your attention, and I'll pass the floor back to Zohir. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Berbekumov. I can see that we have an exciting lineup of 11 groups and 42 teams. So let us quickly recap the draw results. So in Group A, we have Syria, Qatar, Yemen, Sri Lanka. In Group B, we have Islamic Republic of Iran, Tajikistan, Lebanon, and Nepal. What about Group C? We have here Iraq, Bahrain, Afghanistan, Maldives. In Group D, we have Saudi Arabia, Bangladesh, Kuwait, Uzbekistan. Group E, here we have United Arab Emirates, Oman, India, and Kyrgyz Republic. And in Group F, we have Jordan, Palestine, and Turkmenistan. What about Group G? we have here Australia, China PR, Indonesia, Brunei Darussalam. In Group H, we have Korea Republic, Singapore, Timor-Leste, and Philippines. In Group I, we have Vietnam, Myanmar, Hong Kong, and Chinese Taipei. In Group J, we have Thailand, Malaysia, Laos, and Mongolia. And finally, in Group K, we have DPR Korea, Japan, and Cambodia. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of today's event, and as you see, so many exciting qualifier matches lined up. Thank you for tuning in. Let's wish the teams best of luck, and may the matches be played in the spirit of fair play. Thank you very much.